Coming up in the morning edition, the impact of COVID-19 on the current employment status in the country and the way forward for labor will be addressed today. Also, more hope for the #1 industry and the return of business to the historic Bay Street.
I'm feeling optimistic, but certainly in December, some cruise companies are going to restart.
And a well-known pastor clears the air over his comments on the pulpit.
I would never seek to say who believes or who does not believe in God, because only God knows the secrets of a man's heart.
These stories and more when the Morning Edition returns after the break.
It is our duty to ensure that all citizens, residents, and visitors are adhering to the COVID-19 safety protocol. Restaurants may operate utilizing curbside pickup, drive-thru, takeaway, or delivery. Any establishment who allows the entry of any person not wearing a mask is liable upon a summary conviction to a fine of $500. I am Ambassador Ashanti Ruko of the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit. Save a life that may be your own.
This message brought to you by the Ministry of National Security in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Now the outlook for the country's labor climate to be revealed. Good morning, I'm Lloyd Allen and welcome to the Morning Edition. Now the global pandemic has severely hit the job sector in the Bahamas, with unemployment figures setting record highs. As it stands, thousands are without jobs as hotels remain closed and many local businesses continue to feel the brunt of COVID-19. And while the Minister of Labor, Transport and Local Government, the Honorable Dion Foulkes, is expected to speak to these issues this afternoon as he delivers his national address. The minister's address is set for 3 o'clock and will be aired live on the ZNS television and radio network. Meantime, the Bahamas is preparing to lift the 14-day quarantine restrictions on tourists and residents traveling to or around the country as cases in the U.S. surge. As those numbers spike abroad and in the face of an increase in cases locally, Director of Labor John Pinder is also commenting on this issue as those numbers continue to soar.
It's important for us to not drop our guard as a country and make sure those testings are in place. We're hearing that there's testing that now can be, you can get results in 24 hours, and so the shorter time period of one having to be, for better word, quarantine, or at least on some level of control until we are satisfied that they didn't come to the country with any COVID. I think it's a good thing. We got to start somewhere.
Now, Director Pinder says November 1st is the target date to make an attempt to get the economy running again, but we must be mindful that COVID-19 safety measures must be maintained.
Stop seeing a glass half empty. Let's start to see this glass half full. That's how we can fill this glass back up. We got to be optimistic about this thing, and everybody will work together. I think it's important for us to keep reminding people of the safety protocols that are there, and once we follow safety protocols, we can reduce these numbers and hope for the best.
And with little to no activities taking place in the downtown area, the city's hub for shopping has basically become a ghost town. Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Dionisio de Aguilar, is confident it will rebound in the coming weeks when cruise ships return to our harbor and visitors to our shores.
I'm feeling optimistic, but certainly in December, some cruise companies are going to restart. Now, initially, they're probably going to start by going to their private islands to work out all the kinks that they're going to have, and that's a much more controlled environment. But shortly thereafter, we hope that they come to Nassau, and they will disembark to go on prearranged tours, and then the final step will be where people can come off the ship and they can begin to interact with the vendors on Bay Street. So it's going to be a staggered approach, but I can tell you the cruise companies are very, very want to make absolute sure that when they start, they have no problems. So they're going to crawl before they walk, before they run, before they sprint. So everybody just remain patient. I know this has been a long and painful process, but this is the protocols that they would like to deploy as they restart their operations.
Now, also making headlines, a special sitting in the Senate today as cabinet ministers remain in quarantine. The cabinet office announced Sunday that Minister of State Senator Kwesi Thompson has resigned on a temporary basis. Senator Dwight Sawyer will be sworn in to act in his place, and the move will facilitate the business of the Senate during the absence of ministers in the upper chamber who are in quarantine. Senator Sawyer will be stepping down from his temporary appointment this week, and Senator Thompson will be sworn in to resume his duties as Minister of State. And a sermon delivered by a well-known religious leader over the months-long emergency orders put in place by the competent authority has sparked comments from the Free National Movement. Chairman Carl Culmer is responding to a portion of a sermon delivered by the senior pastor of Mount Tabor Baptist Church, Neil Ellis. The senior clergyman charged that it is dangerous when one person in a country makes the decision for an entire population. It is believed that he was referring to Prime Minister the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis and the implementation of the emergency COVID-19 orders. Bishop Ellis also noted that COVID-19 restrictions were good for the first few months of the pandemic, but 8 months later, he said it is infringing on the country's democracy. Culmer is responding to Bishop Ellis's remarks.
The competent authority is not the Prime Minister. The competent authority is the Cabinet of the Bahamas. The Prime Minister is the spokesman for the competent authority. And when the competent authority meet as a cabinet, they look at all the facts, which is the medical facts and also the economic facts. No one wants this country to be an economic depression. No one. And, it's surprising that the good bishop would allude to that.
Now, Culmer also described Bishop Ellis's claim that the Prime Minister does not believe in God as shocking.
The Prime Minister is not trying to play God, nor is he not involved with his church. I've been in many meetings where the Prime Minister would say, hey, before we start, let's open up in prayer. He's a man of prayer. So for the bishop to come out and say that a man who don't believe in God is sitting in the chair is very disappointing.
Now, fast forward this morning, Bishop Neil Ellis expressing to our news team last night that he is very regretful that people would think that his reference to a person not believing in God during a sermon yesterday that went viral on social media was attributed to Prime Minister the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis. The senior pastor of Mount Tabor Baptist Church charged that it is dangerous when one person in a country makes the decision for an entire population, and it was believed that he was referring to Prime Minister the Most Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis and the implementation of the emergency power COVID-19 orders. Bishop Ellis declared in a telephone interview that he is known in the church as a man of encouragement and not judgment.
I would never seek to say who believes or who does not believe in God, because only God knows the secrets of a man's heart. So this was definitely not attributed to the Prime Minister. I know the Prime Minister to be a very active believer and a staunch Catholic attender. I know of his relationship with his bishop and his church community, some of the sisters in the Catholic faith. This was definitely not attributed to him, and I am very sorry that it came across that way. I would never seek to be judgmental like that.
Now, he did admit to be a strong proponent of following rules, and he strongly advises the entire population to follow all rules and protocols of the emergency orders, since so many people nationwide have been impacted by the virus. He noted that his church just reopened 2 weeks ago, and he elected to close the church during the pandemic's first wave. The senior clergyman underscores how church officials and the congregation are abiding by all health and safety COVID-19 protocols.
Quite a bit to ensure that there's the distancing practice in our sanctuary. Our pews are all 6 feet apart from each other. We space out people 4 feet apart in the pews. Everybody has to wear their mask. Everybody, like I said earlier, has to come through the body sanitizer. And we're doing everything we've been asked to do and then some. This is a challenging season for people the world over. And all of us have to do the best we can to try to come to grips with this virus that is still spreading like wildfire, not only in our country, but around the world. And we continue to pray for the best for our people.
Now, meantime, COVID-19 numbers are showing a slight dip across the country. New figures released on Sunday are showing a total of 56 cases, with 34 of them in New Providence, 9 in Grand Bahama, 4 in Eleuthera, 1 in Abaco, 1 in Exuma, and 7 with pending locations. 109 COVID patients are still hospitalized.
Good morning. We are coming to you from a busy east-west highway. We'll be looking at weekend traffic matters coming up in the traffic report. We'll also be speaking about the recent laws and updating your insurance as we traverse through the streets of New Providence.
This public service announcement was brought to you by the Magistrates Court, Canoe, and the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
Hey, have you heard? ZNS is everywhere you are when you download the new ZNS app. Whether you're on the move or just kicking back. Miss something on the news? It's there. Want to keep up with a live update? It's there. Or just want to listen to your favorite station? It's there too. Download the app now from the App Store and Google Play Store.
Hi, I'm Dr. Pinder. During this global pandemic, we ask for you to be responsible. As we fight the COVID-19 virus together, we would like to encourage you to do the following. Wash your hands. Cover your mouth and nose with a flex elbow or tissue when coughing and sneezing. Practice social distancing by staying 6 feet apart. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth, and if you must go out, wear a mask. We stay here for you. Please stay home for us. To those of you on the front line, we salute you as we continue this fight together.
This message has been brought to you by the Ministry of Health in conjunction with GD Media Solutions and this television station.
During this pandemic, it is our duty to ensure that citizens, residents, and visitors are adhering to the COVID-19 safety protocol. Cleaning and sanitizing will help stop the spread of the COVID-19 virus. Pay special attention to areas that are frequently touched in high traffic by family, friends, and clients. Make sure you're using proper cleaning materials and sanitizers. Place all cleaning materials in the correct disposal or storage area. I'm Ambassador Brittany Johnson of the COVID-19 Enforcement Unit. Save a life that may be your own.
This message brought to you by the Ministry of National Security in conjunction with the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas.
The natural resources of the Bahamas play a critical role in supporting Bahamian livelihoods. For example, the fishing and tourism industry, which include fishermen, seafood exporters, hoteliers, dive operators, restaurants, and others. Collectively, they generate approximately $1.5 billion a year. Therefore, we must respect and preserve what we have. These resources belong to us.
This is my livelihood.
This is my livelihood.
This is my livelihood.
So let's all do our part to maintain our local economy and a good quality of life. Remember, if we take care of nature, nature will take care of us.
Welcome back. Well, the first ever virtual youth march hailed a success by officials who brought together youngsters and members of various youth organizations from throughout the country, joining forces to highlight the work of young people in the country. Head of the Division of Youth, Sandina Neely, explains.
And so that included all islands. We had various family islands send in videos with their shout outs and with their young people in their dress and their regalia. And we had young people joining us from Andros, Abaco, Inagua, Spanish Wells. I mean, they just came from all over with their videos, shouting out their organizations, their churches, their schools. And we were so pleased to host them.
Now, Neely adds that in addition to Sunday's event, there are 2 more virtual engagements planned before the end of the month.
As you know, we're celebrating under the theme, and you can see it in my background, Resilient Youth Re-Engineered for Re-Emergence, with that all-important hashtag, I am resilient. And so we have 2 other events coming up, and they're also firsts. We have the first ever virtual Youth in Parliament that takes place on Friday, October 30th at 9 a.m. You can log on to Facebook Division of Youth 242 for that. And on Friday evening, capping off and rounding off our National Youth Month celebration of events on a virtual platform is our first ever virtual youth awards. And we're being hosted by Dynamite Daisy. We have entertainment by Osano Neely, David Cox, Wendy Knight as well. And we have so many nominees.
And switching gears, investigations will continue today into that emergency landing forced to be made on an American Eagle flight into Grand Bahama on Saturday. It was a close call for 28 passengers who were on the aircraft, which reportedly veered off the runway at the Grand Bahama International Airport after a landing gear malfunction. Fortunately, there were no injuries during the episode. And police also continuing their probe into the death of a man whose body was found in Coconut Grove on Saturday night. Assistant Superintendent of Police Audley Peters gave details at the scene.
Shortly before 8 p.m., police received reports of a body found unresponsive at number 46 5th Street, The Grove. Officers responded, and on their arrival, they found the body of a male lifeless in the rear of the residence in question. EMS was summoned, and on their arrival, they pronounced the body lifeless after their examination.
Also, an extensive search is underway for an immigrant who escaped custody of immigration officials at the Carmichael Road Detention Center Friday. Director of Immigration Clarence Russell says the search for 31-year-old Jack Jerlin, alias Jacqueline, remains a massive multi-law enforcement agency exercise. Russell says Jerlin escaped to the nearby community and appealed to members of the public, particularly the Haitian community, to turn him in. An update is expected later today from the director. And our Charles Fisher and the morning traffic team are on the streets giving you a snapshot of issues over the weekend and what to expect in the week ahead. Good morning, Charles.
The traffic report is sponsored by Bahamas First. First in insurance. Today, tomorrow.
Good morning, everybody. We're coming to you from a busy east-west highway where we're just coming off a lockdown weekend here in New Providence and Abaco. And joining us this morning, as usual, is Sergeant Cressnia Johnson. Cressnia, talk about weekend traffic matters first.
Well, let me just say this. Good morning to you and good morning, Bahamas. We found that majority of our accidents, we had a total of 14 accidents. A majority of those accidents came from that Friday at Friday during that 12-hour period, that is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we want to admonish the general public as much as possible. As it relates to that time period, what it's telling us is that a lot of rushing is happening. So we're advising as much as possible to please get whatever preparations you need to have made, get it done in time. And while you're on the street conducting whatever business it is that you are conducting, to do so with added care and caution. Please, as much as possible, stay off those cell phones. Please, as much as possible, adhere to the traffic controls and the traffic signs that are posted. They're posted there for your safety and for drivers to get where they need to go in a timely fashion.
We are looking at traffic on the road on a Friday when lockdown is coming in effect at 7 o'clock. And most people are still on the road doing last-minute things.
Yes. So we find again that we have more strict enforcements going on. Everything besides masks, every offense besides wearing a mask has been increased. So this is an effort to advise the general public just to know that these things are serious and measures are going to be in strict effect as it pertains to enforcement of persons who are still on the street at 7 p.m. For the past several weeks, we've noticed that a lot of individuals have chosen at that late hour to be on the street conducting their final business transactions. So as much as possible, please do not find yourself as being incarcerated due to these minor things that you could help. If you could help being on the road after that time, if you do not need to be on the road after 6 p.m., do not be on the road after 6 p.m. Do not wait until 7 p.m. to decide that I'm going to hurry up dash home. No. You want to be in your homes at least 7:45. It's 6:30 to make it, at least 6:45, 6:30 to make it even better. So avoid anything along that lines of facing those fines and being wrapped up in those numbers who are on the street at 7 p.m.
We are still in lockdown here in New Providence, also in Abaco on the weekends. But we're noticing traffic accidents are still happening on Saturday and Sunday. We had an accident in Abaco on the weekend.
Yes, we had a serious accident in Abaco where 2 persons were airlifted to New Providence Island to seek medical care. That accident, the vehicle was extremely damaged, and those persons are lucky to come out of that accident alive. So again, we are advising as much as possible. The lockdown starts at 7 p.m. on Fridays, and it's not up until 5 a.m. on Monday morning. So again, as much as possible, we've seen a lot of this happening from the Eleuthera Island and from Abaco, where persons are being airlifted to the capital in order to receive medical attention after being involved in these serious accidents. This is a matter of concern to us because these things are happening, like you said, during the lockdown period. So as much as possible, we're advising our family islands to please adhere to the rules of the road. And as much as possible, even if you're on the street during that time for whatever purpose you probably would have communicated with the COVID hotlines, or you're permitted to be on the road for that serious reason, to do so again with added care and caution. I cannot stress that enough.
Before we get out here, the week has started. Not much traffic on the road in case, like if we were going to school on a regular basis. Insurance and license still need those, even though the emergency orders are in effect.
Yeah, so let me speak briefly on that. While the orders, they allow drivers to be on the street but not having a vehicle license. Okay, so you're not required to have your vehicle license. But as it pertains to insurance, you are to have your vehicle insured. And even if your driver's license is invalid at this time, you are to have it in your possession for identification purposes. This is automatic once you're driving a vehicle. Now, drivers who do not have a driver's license, if you have never been issued a driver's license from the Road Traffic Department and you're operating a vehicle, you will be taken into police custody. You're not supposed to be operating that vehicle. If you were to get into a traffic accident, you would not be covered. You will not be able to cover that next person's vehicle because you have no valid insurance. You're not supposed to be driving. But if you do have a driver's license and it's invalid, you can still have it in your possession as much as possible. Have that on you. Have your copies of your vehicle's title and all these other documents that's required. Like I said, your insurance needs to be up to date, and your driver's license, you can have it in your possession.
Once again, thanks to Sergeant Cressonier Johnson informing us exactly what we need to do. Weekend lockdowns, not 7:05, 6:45 to please be inside. Back to you, Lloyd, in the studio.
Well, thanks a lot, Charles. You are watching the Morning Edition. More after this break.
What I
love most about working for the Bahamas tonight is that we don't only focus on New Providence. We cover the entire Bahamas. We have a team here in the Northern Bahamas that is ready to bring you the stories, the people, and the news that matter to you. From point A to Z, from covering hurricanes to elections and everything in between.
And continuing with our Royal Bahamas Defense Force profiles, this morning we introduce you to an officer who has rediscovered love in his granddaughter and adds that his career in the military almost never happened.
I didn't want to be an engineer, I just wanted to be a Marine.
It was 33 years ago that Force Chief Petty Officer Marcelo Charlo began his career with the RBDF. Back then, he described himself as an unassuming young man with no clear idea about the future. That, however, changed quickly as he began gaining experience in a number of departments, starting with the electrical unit.
So that was my first department, and I enjoyed it. I sailed with a lot of pioneers of the electrical department, and in 1991, I was sent off to Yorktown, Virginia, to do an air condition course.
That certification opened the door for his growth to the position of Chief Air Condition Technician on the HMBS Bahamas.
The electrical department, the air condition department, radio department, hull, ATON, that's aids to navigation. So I am responsible for making sure manpower, making sure the boats, satellite bases are manned with the correct personnel to make sure the maintenance of all of these assets of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force is manned properly.
Charlo says he has experienced the ups and downs of being a Marine, and at this stage, he says life is all about living in the moment.
My joy right now is my granddaughter. Her name is Zayla. That is my heartstring.
The first time around, there were some missed opportunities. Hence, today, he makes every effort to be in his granddaughter's life.
It's a taxing job. It's not for everybody. The lifestyle that we live, be away from home for months at a time.
As training is critical to the RBDF, Charlo noted that over the years, his bond with the other 49 members of his squad has morphed into a connection similar to that of brothers.
I have 49 brothers, extended brothers for life, entry 22. And I must, again, give shouts out to my daughter, my son, Marcia Tuffy, and also Aaron Bailey, class of 85.
And while many of our RBDF features have culminated with advice to civilians on the future, Charlo offers this advice to serving Marines forced to sacrifice time with family and loved ones to fulfill their duties to country.
We have an awesome responsibility in guarding and protecting our nation. Keep doing what we do. Everybody cannot do what we do, but we know what we are capable of. When we go to sea, right now, somebody's out to sea somewhere doing rounds on the high seas. Keep doing what we do. Keep doing your job. It is not going unnoticed. We will be rewarded in due time.
This weather report is sponsored by Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions.
We thank you for continuing to make ZNS your #1 news and information network. Only the sun covers the Bahamas better than ZNS. Have a great Monday, Bahamas.